In the previous lecture, we have discussed the classical principle or the Newtonian principle of relativity and Galilean transformations. In fact, the classical relativity is based on two postulates. You have studied it already. And in the first postulate, we have studied that all inertial frames of reference are equivalent with regard to the description of the laws of mechanics. In other words, you say that the laws of mechanics are invariant under the transformation of inertial frames. And the second postulate was actually very important, and that postulate says time and space are absolute, not relative. It means when you measure time and space of an event, they are found to be same in all inertial frames. Actually, on the basis of the second postulate of classical relativity, we have obtained a set of equations, and those set of equations were called Galilean transformation. You know, the Galilean transformation actually relate the space and time coordinates of an event in two inertial frames. It means whenever you know the event in one inertial frame, on the basis of Galilean transformation, you are able to find the same event in another inertial frame. Now, today, our aim is to find, or you can say our aim is to examine whether these transformation equations, that is the Galilean transformation equations, agree with the first relativity principle or not. And when you say that Galilean transformation agree with the first relativity principle, what does it mean? It means we have to show that the laws of mechanics are equally valid in all inertial frames of reference. But here our aim is to test not only the invariance of the laws of Newtonian mechanics or classical mechanics under the Galilean transformation, but we want to test any law of physics that law is either invariant or not invariant under Galilean transformation. So in this regard, I will divide this lecture in two parts. In fact, in this first part, our aim is to discuss the classical relativity and laws of Newtonian mechanics. That is, we will test the laws of Newtonian mechanics are invariant under Galilean transformation or not. And in the second part of this lecture, we will actually discuss the classical relativity and laws of electromagnetism. Although in the first postulate, it has been said only Newtonian mechanics, but we will also test that the laws of electromagnetism or laws of electrodynamics are invariant under Galilean transformation or not. I want to inform you that we will actually found that the laws of Newtonian mechanics will be definitely invariant under Galilean transformation. But whenever we will test that the laws of electrodynamics are invariant under the principle of classical relativity or the Galilean transformation or not, then you will see that the laws of electrodynamics are not invariant under Galilean transformation. And so you can say this is actually a drawback of classical relativity principle or the Galilean transformation. So in this lecture, as I have told you, our aim is to test the invariance of the laws of Newtonian mechanics or classical mechanics under Galilean transformation. So let us now see how we can test the laws of Newtonian mechanics are invariant under Galilean transformation. You know, actually the basic equation of motion of Newton, which is F equal to ma, you know it, is actually called the fundamental or basic equation of classical mechanics. And all other laws of classical mechanics are actually proved or found by the use of this very equation F equal to ma. So you can say that this is a basic equation from which all the laws of Newtonian mechanics can be explained or can be derived. So if we will prove that the basic equation or fundamental equation of motion F equal to ma is invariant under Galilean transformation, then we can say that all other laws of classical mechanics will be also invariant under the Galilean transformation. So I will prove here that the basic equation of motion F equal to ma is invariant under Galilean transformation, and from that we can conclude that all other laws of Newtonian mechanics will be also invariant under Galilean transformation. And actually, to show or to see the invariance of basic equation of classical mechanics F equal to ma is invariant under Galilean transformation, first of all we have to see the velocity transformation or velocity addition theorem in classical mechanics. And this is also a fact that we can see that the velocity addition theorem of classical relativity or the classical mechanics is in accordance with the Galilean transformation. So first of all, let us see what is velocity transformation. When you say velocity transformation, it means Galilean velocity transformation, and after that we will see the transformation equation for acceleration, and then we will be able to show the invariance of the equation of motion F equal to ma under Galilean transformation. So let us start to find the velocity transformation equation first. For this I have shown the general case, a figure for the general result. You can see this figure. I have assumed here actually two inertial frames. First one is S, which is a stationary inertial frame. Here you can see S is what? A stationary inertial frame. A stationary inertial frame. And S prime is also an inertial frame, but it is a moving inertial frame, and this S prime is actually moving with a uniform velocity v relative to the frame S. And for the general result, I have not taken that S prime is moving in x direction, but here I have assumed that S prime is moving with a velocity v with respect to S in general in 3D space. So here the x-axis of both of the frames have not shown to be coinciding. So S prime an inertial frame, moving with a constant velocity v relative to S. As I have told you in the previous lecture that initially, when you say initially, it means at t equal to 0, both of these frames were coinciding. It means the origin O dash was also at O, and at that moment actually we have assumed that an event takes place, a plane takes off, and at the same moment this frame S prime also starts moving with a velocity v in this direction OO prime, as I have shown in the figure. And the observer of frame S, that is O, observes that the plane reaches to the point P at a time t. And the same event when observed from this frame S prime, then the observer says that the plane is at this point P at a time t prime. But according to the second postulate of classical relativity, you know that T prime is equal to T. Actually, we have found the Galilean transformation in this regard. So I will write here this Galilean transformation in vector form directly, which we have already studied in the previous lecture. So at t equal to t0, both frames were coinciding, and in frame S an event takes place at P at t equal to t. At time t, an event takes place at point P, and this time has been recorded by the observer of the frame S by his own clock. Now, the same event is in fact observed by the observer O prime of frame S prime also. You can see from this figure that the position vector of this point P relative to the origin of frame S, I have assumed it R, and the position vector of this point P relative to the origin of the frame S prime, I have assumed it R prime. And this OO dashed is actually what? This is actually the displacement of the frame S prime in this interval. So I have assumed here R equal to position vector of point P in frame S, and R prime, this is actually the position vector of the same point P but in frame S prime. And from figure you can see that this OO prime is actually equal to Vt, where V is the velocity of frame S prime relative to frame S. Now, as I have discussed in the previous lecture, what is the relation between R and R prime, and that is called actually the Galilean transformation in vector form. Then Galilean transformation in vector form you have written it in this manner. This is R equal to R prime plus Vt. R prime plus Vt. Actually, we have discussed this result in the previous lecture. So till now, I have actually discussed what we have actually studied in the previous lecture. Now we will see the velocity transformation equation on the basis of this Galilean transformation. You know, velocity is simply the time derivative of position vector. So if we will actually differentiate this equation 1 with respect to time, then we will be able to relate the velocity of a particle in the two inertial frames, that is frame S and S prime. So to relate the velocity, let us now differentiate this equation 1 with respect to time t. So differentiating 1 with respect to t. So you can see this will be dr dt equal to dr prime dt plus v dt dt and plus t dv dt. This is very simple differentiation, but see here, this dv dt will be what? Actually this will be 0, because you know v is the velocity of the inertial frame S prime, and so you know that velocity of any inertial frame is actually constant. In fact, if a frame is moving with constant velocity, only then it can be an inertial frame. So since S prime is an inertial frame, so definitely this V will be constant. And you know from calculus that the differential coefficient of a constant is 0, so definitely this dV by dt will be 0. So if this is 0, what will be our result? You can see that this is dr by dt plus, not plus but equal to, this is dr prime by dt and plus v. dt dt is actually 1, and so this is plus v. Now according to the second postulate of classical relativity, we have seen that time is actually absolute. So we can write this t equal to t prime. So according to second postulate of CR, classical relativity, you know that t is equal to t prime, and so in RHS here you can write t prime instead of t. So our result will be what? You can see, therefore we can write dr dt equal to dr prime dt prime. T has been replaced by t prime and plus v. And so you can see that what is this dr dt? You know the time derivative of position vector is actually velocity, and since this r is the position vector of our particle with respect to the frame S, so this time derivative of r will be actually the velocity of our particle with respect to frame S. Now let us denote this velocity by the symbol u. So u is dr over dt, and this is actually velocity of the particle here in this example. This is velocity of the plane at time t in frame S. And similarly you can see here, since r prime is the position vector of the plane or the particle in frame S prime, so this will be actually the velocity of the plane or particle in frame S prime. And if we denote it by u prime, then you can write u prime instead of dr prime by dt prime. So u will be equal to u prime plus v. U prime plus v. So actually this is our resulting equation, and this is known as classical law of velocity addition or addition of velocity. So you can see what are these u we have written instead of dr dt, and actually this is velocity of the particle. In general I am writing here particle, but in our example it was a plane. So velocity of particle in frame S, and u prime, this is dr prime dt prime. And what is this? This is velocity of the particle in frame s prime. This is velocity of particle in frame s prime. So we have related the velocity of a particle in frame s and in frame s prime. And as I have told you, this equation 2, which defines that velocity of particle in frame s is equal to velocity of the particle in the moving inertial frame s prime, that is u prime, plus the velocity of the moving frame. And as I have told you, this is actually known as the classical law of addition of velocity, or simply you can say this is a velocity addition theorem. So equation 2 is the classical law of velocity addition. Actually, you can see from this equation that we can find the velocity of a particle in frame s if it is known in frame s prime simply by adding the velocity of the particle in frame s prime and the velocity of the frame itself. So this is actually called velocity addition. So this is the classical law of velocity addition. Now you can write the inverse of this equation 2, or this equation 2, which is called classical law of velocity addition. This is also known as a velocity transformation equation. This is also called velocity transformation equation. Now inverse of this equation can be written in a simple manner, as I have discussed in the previous lecture how you can find inverse of equation. Actually, for this we have to interchange the primed and unprimed quantity. That is, an unprimed quantity is made primed and primed quantity is made unprimed, and the sign of velocity v, which is velocity of the moving frame, is just inverted. So here, if you want to write the inverse of this equation, you will write u prime equal to u minus v. So inverse of equation 2 is given as, this will be u prime equal to u minus v. This is also known as the velocity transformation equation. In fact, in this equation, from this equation, you can find the velocity of the particle in frame s prime if it is known in frame s, and equation 2 is used to find the velocity of the particle in frame s when it is known in frame s prime. So the purpose is just opposite, but both are same. Now these equations 2 and 3 have been written in general in vector form. Equivalently, we can find the scalar form of these equations. So let us now write the scalar form of it. And for this, you can express all the velocities in terms of their rectangular component, that is their components in x, y and z direction. So now let us consider the most general case, that is the motion is three-dimensional. So all the velocities will have three rectangular components, that is x component, y component and z component. So you can write what will be this u. You can write this u will be uxi plus uyj plus uzk. Here ux, uy and uz are actually the x, y and z components of velocity vector u, or you can say these are velocities in x direction, in y direction and in z direction. Similarly, we can write u prime equal to u prime x I hat plus u prime y j hat plus u prime z k hat. Here, in fact, I, j, k are unit vectors along x, y and z direction. You know it. And similarly, the velocity of the frame S prime, which is v, is expressed as vx I hat plus vy j hat plus vz k hat. Now let us substitute all these values in the velocity transformation equation which we have just obtained. So now you have seen that this u is equal to u prime plus v. So we can write this equation now in this way. This is ux I plus uy j plus uz k, and this will be equal to u prime, and u prime will be written as u prime x I plus u prime y j hat plus u prime z k hat, and plus v, and v is written as vx I hat plus vy j hat plus vz k hat. Now in RHS you can associate the terms containing the same unit vector, and so you can simplify it in this manner. This is u prime x plus vx I and plus u prime y plus vy j, and similarly u prime z plus vz k. Now you know if two vectors are actually equal, then definitely the corresponding components of the vectors will be equal. Only then actually two vectors can be equal. So now you can equate the x, y and z components of the vectors in LHS and in RHS. And so you can see after equating the x, y and z components of the vectors in LHS and RHS of this equation, actually this vector equation will be resolved, will be splitted into three scalar equivalent equations. And so what are the scalar equivalent of this vector equation? So you can see equating the x, y and z components. X, y and z components. What you will get? You will find that ux is equal to u prime x plus vx. Uy will be equal to u prime y plus vy, and uz will be equal to u prime z plus vz. And so this is actually the velocity transformation equation, or you can say Galilean velocity transformation equation in a scalar form. So this is equation 3. Now in similar manner we can write the inverse of these equations. So inverse velocity transformation equations. Inverse velocity transformation equations will be what? This will be simply u prime x equal to ux minus vx, u prime y equal to uy minus vy, and u prime z will be equal to uz minus vz. Say this is equation 4. So as I have told you, we have considered actually the general case, the motion of the particle and motion of the frame was taking place in 3D space. Now we will restrict ourselves for a particular situation, that we consider that the plane is moving in x direction and our frame S is also moving in x direction. So now let us consider that this vector u is equal to ui, that is, it means what? It means the velocity u is in x direction, and u prime is also u prime I, and this v is also vi. So if you will consider that velocity of the plane or the particle under consideration is in x direction and our frame S prime is also moving in x direction, then actually the y and z component of velocity of the particle and the frame will be actually equal to 0. So in this condition, you can see this uy will be 0, uz will be also 0, because component of a vector in a perpendicular direction is actually 0. So here u is in this x direction and we have to find its component in this y direction, and this angle is 90 degree. So you know this uy will be simply equal to u cos 90, and this u cos 90 will be 0 because cos 90 is 0. Similarly, the z direction also makes angle 90 degree with this x direction, and so this z component is also in fact u cos 90, and this will be equal to 0. Similarly, you can see that this u prime y will be 0, u prime z is also 0, and again we have assumed that v is equal to vi. It means the velocity of the frame is in x direction, so the y and z component of this velocity v will be also 0. So vy will be 0, and at the same time this vz will be also 0. So in fact in this condition we will have only one scalar equation for the velocity transformation, and you can see from here that from equation 3 or 4 only this equation will remain, and the remaining two equations will be actually 0. So now you can write therefore from equation 3, what is equation 3? You can see here that we will write ux equal to u prime x plus vx. Ux is equal to u prime x plus vx. Now since the only component of this velocity is actually x component, so we drop the subscript x and we will write this equation simply as u equal to u prime plus v, because there is no need now to specify the x component because the motion is one dimensional, and in case of one dimensional motion we write the equation without the subscript. So we will write this equation as u equal to u prime plus v. And again, the inverse of this equation you can write that u prime is equal to u minus v. Actually, this special result, which is actually in case of one-dimensional motion of the frame and the particle, is actually more important than the general result. You will find its application in solving the problems, and most of the problems is asked for the case of one-dimensional motion. So this is most important. So I will give some important examples, or you can say the problem, after completion of this lecture in a separate lecture. But during this moment we are actually considering, we have actually an aim to find the invariance of the basic equation of motion of classical mechanics. So I am not giving a proper example here. I will cite the example later on. So now we have seen the velocity transformation law, or the classical law of velocity addition. Now you can find what will be the transformation equation for acceleration. So now acceleration transformation. In fact, on the basis of velocity transformation equation, you can easily find the transformation equation for acceleration. So you have seen, according to velocity transformation, we have seen that u is equal to u prime plus v. All terms are known to you. Now you know, if we have to find the acceleration, what we will do? You know, the time derivative of velocity is actually called acceleration. So to relate the acceleration of the particle in two inertial frames, and if you know this velocity transformation equation, you simply differentiate it. So differentiating with respect to t. What you will get? This will be written as simply du dt equal to du prime dt plus dv dt. Again, you can see that this dv dt will be actually 0, because you know v is actually constant, since s prime is an inertial frame, and an inertial frame moves with constant velocity. So this last term will be actually 0. And again, according to the second postulate of classical relativity, t is equal to t prime. So as you know, v equal to constant, and therefore this dv dt will be equal to 0, and this t is actually equal to t prime according to the second postulate of classical relativity. This is actually second postulate. And so you can see this equation may be written as du dt is equal to du prime dt prime. Now you know the time derivative of velocity is acceleration. So since u is the velocity of our particle in frame S, so this du dt will be acceleration of the particle in frame S. And similarly, this du prime dt prime will be the acceleration of the particle relative to frame S prime, because you know this u prime is the velocity of the particle with respect to frame S prime. So we can write it as a is equal to a prime. A is equal to A prime. And here actually this A, which has been written instead of du dt, what is this A? This is acceleration in S, and A prime, this is du prime dt prime, and this is acceleration in frame S prime. So this is actually the acceleration transformation equation. This is a very remarkable result. You have seen that the position vector or the space coordinates in two frames are not same. Similarly, you can see that velocity of a particle in two inertial frames are not same, they are different. But it is just a very interesting result that the acceleration when measured from two inertial frames of a particle, the value is same. It means if you measure the acceleration of a particle from a stationary inertial frame and from a moving inertial frame, you get the same result. It means acceleration of the particle is same in all inertial frames. It does not matter the inertial frame is either at rest or in motion with what velocity. So this is a very important result. So it means acceleration is same in all inertial frames. All inertial frames. This is a most important result, that velocity of a particle is not same in two inertial frames if the state of motion of the frames are different. But even after the different state of motion of two inertial frames, if you measure the acceleration of a particle in two frames, you will get the same result. So it is actually a very important result that acceleration has same value in all inertial frames. Now we are able to show the invariance of the basic or the fundamental equation of motion of classical mechanics, which is actually F equal to ma in the under the Galilean transformation. So now we can test it. Invariance of basic equation of motion of classical mechanics, or you can say Newtonian mechanics. Classical mechanics under Galilean transformation. Galilean transformation. Now you can see it easily. For this, let us consider a particle is in motion, and the motion of that particle is observed by the observers O and O prime of the two inertial frames. And as I have told you, the first frame S is a stationary frame and S prime is a moving frame. In fact, observer of S and S prime both will write the equation of motion of the same particle relative to their own frame. So now you can see equation of motion. Equation of motion in frame S. Let us say F is the force acting on the particle in frame S, and so according to the second law of motion, you can write this F equal to ma. F equal to ma. You know this m is what? This is mass of the particle measured in S. When mass of the particle is measured from frame S, then it is found to be m, let us say. And A, you know, this is acceleration of the particle in frame S. So A is acceleration measured from frame S. Acceleration in S, you can say. Now the equation of motion of the same particle will be written in frame S prime. That is, the observer of frame S prime also write the equation of motion. And so you can write it, equation of motion in frame S prime. Let us write it in this manner. This is f prime equal to m prime a prime. F prime equal to m prime a prime. I have assumed here that the net external force acting on the particle in frame S prime is F prime, and when mass of the particle is measured from frame S prime, that is the moving frame, then it is found to be m prime. Let us consider it. And its acceleration with respect to frame S prime is a prime. So the basic equation of motion in this frame will be written as f prime equal to m prime times a prime. Now let us see in accordance with the Galilean transformation equation. You have just seen that A and A prime are not different but same. So according to Galilean acceleration transformation, we have seen that A prime is equal to A. And again, you know, the Newtonian mechanics is based on the concept that mass of a particle is a constant. It does not depend on the reference frame. And so under this classical concept, we will take m prime equal to m. So classically you can say m prime is equal to m. So we have now the result that a prime is equal to a and m prime is equal to m. Actually this is also a basic postulate of classical mechanics or Newtonian mechanics, that mass is an intrinsic property, and so it does not depend on the reference frame and it remains same in all reference frame. So we have taken on the basis of classical concept that m prime is equal to m. So now you can write the equation of motion in the frame S prime, that is equation of motion which has been defined in equation 2 in this manner. So from equation 2 you can write f prime equal to ma, because m prime is equal to m, you can see here, and a prime is equal to a, as you can see here. And so this is the equation of motion in frame S prime. So what you are seeing here, that the form of the basic equation or fundamental equation of motion of classical mechanics does not change due to the change of inertial frame. It is same in frame S and in frame S prime. You can see here, when you write the equation of motion in frame S, you write it F equal to ma, and when you write this equation in frame S prime, which is actually a moving inertial frame, then you write it as f prime equal to ma. Since RHS of these two equations are same, so we can conclude that actually under this Galilean transformation, this equation ma does not change or it remains invariant. So you can say that the second law of force or the basic equation of motion is same in all inertial frames. So you can write from actually this is equation 3. So from equation 1 and 3, 1 and 3, you can see that this f is equal to f prime and this is equal to ma. So it is very easy to see that this basic equation of motion does not change or its mathematical form remains same in all inertial frames. So this is our conclusion. So what is the conclusion? Conclusion is that basic equation of classical CM for classical mechanics, basic equation of classical mechanics is same in all inertial frames, all inertial frames. And this is the reason we say that the basic of equation of motion of classical mechanics is invariant under Galilean transformation. So this implies this equation is invariant. When you say invariant, it means it does not change. Is invariant under Galilean transformation. This GT is for Galilean transformation. So we have seen that the basic equation of motion of classical mechanics or Newtonian mechanics, which is F equal to ma, does not change its form when we actually transform the inertial frame from S to S prime. And so our conclusion is that this equation of motion is invariant under Galilean transformation. Now, as I have told you earlier, that any law of classical mechanics or Newtonian mechanics can be explained, can be proved by the use of this fundamental equation, which is F equal to ma. And so, if this equation F equal to ma is actually invariant under Galilean transformation, so we can conclude that any law of classical physics will be invariant under Galilean transformation. So this is a very remarkable fact. F equal to ma is the basic equation of motion of Newtonian mechanics or classical mechanics. Newtonian mechanics. All other laws of classical mechanics can be deduced by the use of it. And so you can say this is the base equation, and all laws are derivable from this very equation. And you have find that this basic equation is invariant under Galilean transformation. So we can easily conclude that all the other laws which are derivable from this basic equation will be also invariant under Galilean transformation. So all other laws like principle of conservation of momentum, principle of conservation of energy, these are the other laws of classical mechanics. So all other laws of classical mechanics will be also invariant under Galilean transformation. This GT is for Galilean transformation. So you have seen that the Newtonian mechanics or classical mechanics is in accordance with the Galilean transformation or principle of the postulates of the classical relativity. But what will happen when we will actually test the invariance of laws of electromagnetism or electrodynamics under this Galilean transformation? As I have told you, we will discuss it in next lecture. But one thing I mention here, that we will find that the laws of electrodynamics or electromagnetism are actually not invariant under this Galilean transformation. And so this is actually the drawback of the classical relativity, and in fact this fact will be discussed in the forthcoming lecture.